Hey everyone, and welcome to Sasquatch Theory. In this episode, we have Connie, who had an encounter in West Virginia whenever she was just a little kid. It amazes me whenever I hear a Bigfoot report because there are so many different kinds and variations of Sasquatch, ranging from primate-like creatures to hairy hominids that resemble people. I would say it's 50-50. They are very primate, but they are also very human-like. If you enjoy listening to Sasquatch Theory, please like and subscribe. And if you have had a Bigfoot encounter that you would like to share with me here on the channel, please contact me sometime. Alright guys, with all that being said, let's dive straight into Connie's encounter from West Virginia. All right, Connie, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing excellent. Thank you so much for asking. Connie, if you can, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and your Bigfoot encounters from the very beginning, please.
Okay. I am originally from Wheeling, West Virginia, and that's where the sighting took place, but I now live in Columbus, Ohio. And my sighting was with my father, and I was 10 years old, and it was in 1967, and we were outside. It was summer. It was hot. It was quiet. We were working in the yard on a well that he was repairing and not talking a whole lot. And then all of a sudden, from behind us, we heard what sounded like a commotion and noises. And we turned, and it was two orange monkeys, like orangutans. And they were swinging hand over hand through the trees on the hillside. Wasn't far from us, probably, I'm going to say 30 to 40 feet from us, looking up to the hillside. And they swung through and chattered, a lot of noise, sounded just like a chimpanzee would sound. And we watched them. It probably didn't last more than a minute, but you could see them reach out with one hand and swing to the other. And as they swung, they let their legs come down. And then when they reached the other one, they would pull their legs back up. Didn't see them face on because they were from the side going across. But they had orange hair and it was hair, it wasn't fur, and it flew off of their elbows and stuff when they were swinging. You could see it move. Their skin, their hands, their feet, their face was sort of a ashy, tannish gray. And their head wasn't conical. And after it happened, I turned to him and I said, "Were those monkeys?" And he said, "I think so." We went in the house and told my mom, and of course she had a lot of questions that we couldn't answer. It was very quick, but the only thing that we never heard Bigfoot. That was it's like in 67. So we lived way out in the country, surrounded by trees and woods and all that. So you didn't have the internet or TV shows or anything like that talked about Bigfoot. And as a kid, my dad said, "Well, maybe there was a circus in town and the monkeys escaped." Well, that seemed reasonable, but if that happened, then they had to have camped somewhere near us for the monkeys to escape, and that wasn't on the news or anything. And then there was a rich man in our town, and I thought, well, maybe he bought monkeys and they escaped from his house. But I don't think anything. As I got older, I realized, yeah, those probably weren't escaped pets or circus animals. So that was our encounter. We never really saw or heard anything after that, although some other family members throughout the years had whooping sounds and just different things that happened that as you look back, you think, well, maybe there was some activity there in that area. It's out in West Virginia, not too far from Salt Fork State Park, which Now people travel there because it's supposed to have a big concentration of Bigfoot sightings. But that was my story, and I've followed Bigfoot as I got older. I kind of put it together and thought, well, maybe that's what we saw. And I do think that if it was, if they were the juveniles swinging, and they were like they were playing, going through the woods playing, and I would imagine the adults were there too, probably in the trees themselves, and we just didn't see them. I can't imagine that these were alone out in the woods if they're a clan or a family. So that's what we saw, and I wanted to share that with you because you are looking for, proof. And being an eyewitness, I thought, well, maybe that'll add to the not a non-believer, but yeah, these things do exist. They are out there for you. And I think that they've been around. I think they stay hidden because I don't think that they want to interact with humans. There's animals, dogs, etc., that probably keep them at bay. But I know that they're out there, so I am a believer. I'm a knower. There's that.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you for sharing that, Connie. And
hmm
about how tall do you think these creatures were?
I would say that probably 4 feet standing,
Mhm.
um, but being that they were kind of balled up as they were going across there, but their arms were long, um, and they were orange. They were definitely, they had no brown or anything. They were orange like an orangutan orange. But I'd say they were about 4 feet, and they looked pretty sturdy. They were not skinny animals.
Mhm.
Um, they were stout, solid.
Yeah. Did you notice anything about the forearms or their?
Flowing off the arms, the way it flowed, it looked just like silky, soft hair. And the color, that wasn't, a color that you see normally in an animal. You know,
Yeah.
Farm animals and stuff. They're usually brown, or dogs and stuff. This was definitely an orange, and it was daylight. It was bright. There was no mistaking what we saw. And we talked. My father's passed away since, but through the years, we would talk about it because it was such an unbelievable sight, um, such so out of the ordinary that it just stuck with you.
Yeah. And you said their face was kind of like a gray color.
Yeah, like a tannish gray, and definitely skin that was, like the hands, the feet, the face, the ears. It was all skinned. It just didn't have hair on it. So,
Yeah. I had a lady from Colorado. She sent in her story, and she was playing peekaboo at a deer camp, and with her friends. Her dad was there. He had some deer hung up, and they were playing peekaboo. And whenever she looked through the bushes, there was this orangutan-looking Sasquatch just staring at them, and it was pretty surprised. And I think she said they had like 4 or 6 deer hung up from that
oh
hunting
wow.
trip, and they all went missing the next morning. Like something took all the deer.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my parents raised, always had a garden, but, I don't know. They never really mentioned anything missing, but he had hunting dogs. He was always in the woods. He, was always out and about. And nobody ever said they encountered anything like that. But his dogs would bark nonstop, and, like they sensed something or saw something. And, just different things as you got older, you look back on stuff and say, could that have been anything? There was no odor. Um, didn't hear breaking of tree branches or any of the stuff. But I think what caught my attention is when I did watch your shows and people would mention, it looked like an orangutan in the woods, and it's like, well, okay, then that's probably what we encountered. So,
Yeah, I think so. And I think you're right about there being more around. It was probably the two juveniles playing up in the trees, and the clan had to have been somewhere nearby.
yeah, I think so too. I really do. Yeah.
And this
But
was probably like June or July, would you say? I know you said summertime and it was hot.
yeah, I would say, or yeah, it was hot enough that I was outside in shorts and no shoes, I'm pretty sure. And you could hear it was quiet. You could hear the buzz of the bees, and there was nothing else. I mean, we're out in the country, in the yard, so nothing else that distracted you, and that's why we turned and was like, "What is that going on?" But I can't mimic it, but it was the ah, ah, ooh, ooh, that type of a sound.
Yeah, like
It
monkey
just
chatter.
sounded like monkeys, yeah. And they were having fun. They were going through those trees, and like they were playing with each other, playing tag or just, chasing each other through the treetops.
And it's like, man, a lot of the stuff they do is primate related as far as like rock throwing, rock clacking, breaking trees, tree knocking. And
Hmm.
a lot of the stuff they do is it correlates with primates.
Yeah, it's a mystery. I wish we could solve it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And we played in the woods a lot as kids, and things that I've seen on your show and stuff, um, that we just took for granted, like the little saplings that are arched over and back down in the ground. I would see those all the time. I just thought those were the way the trees grew. I didn't know that maybe something arched it that way, and we would run through them and go to the vines and swing and do different things. But, um, I'm sure that there were caves, like not caves, but like, um, overhang of rocks and different things that I suppose they could make homes in. But we didn't know at that time that there was anything that could be out there like that.
Yeah.
So,
Did you guys spook them or did they just go through the trees
no,
basically?
yeah, no, they just came out of nowhere. Um, they just were there briefly and then gone.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Were they more or
yeah.
less playing or traveling like through the trees by swinging from limb to limb or tree or from tree to tree?
I'm going to say that it was probably like, yeah, go ahead, you can do that. And they probably, got permission from their parents or whatever to go. And because it almost sounded like they were on a playground, like they were just having a really good time. They weren't trying to be quiet. Um, and I think it's one of those, we just happened to be at the right place at the right time, because if we had been in the house or on another piece of the property, we probably wouldn't have seen them or heard them,
Yeah. And were they
you
both
know.
the same size or was one bigger than the other?
Almost looked like twins.
Yeah.
They were pretty much the same size, doing the same movement in sync. One would reach and swing, and the other one would be right behind him, and just hand over hand through the trees there.
Yeah.
So,
And there's no like nearby primate research center that they could have like got out of like that was probably Sasquatch, huh?
yeah, there was nothing, and that's, yeah. Over the years, we've talked about it, but there was nothing in that area. It was pretty, farm country, and you know nothing like that. The nearest big town at that would be Pittsburgh, and that's about an hour away from that area.
Yeah. I mean that'd be the only other explanation is like if these things got out of like some type of primate research facility, but how would you
Right.
possibly even know that? I mean, when did you figure out that there were Sasquatch in the area? Bigfoot creatures, whatever you want to call them.
Um, I guess after that sighting, in the 60s, then we heard about the Patty film, and the different, Weekly Reader would come out and say there's this, they don't know what it is, creature, and you would read about it and stuff. So it was starting to come around then that people were using the term Bigfoot and stuff. But like I said, nobody in our area ever talked about anything like that. And you didn't ask your neighbor, hey, did you see this or did you hear anything? You didn't want people to think you were odd or different by believing and stuff like that. But
Yeah, no doubt. Have you ever found reports from that exact area, like on the internet or the BFRO website or listening to these podcasts?
my sister did look that up in the area, and there were some that were right around that area. Dates, I can't confirm the exact dates, but there was not far from where that was, and people would say, "Yeah, I saw it out my window." Think there was a couple stories like that um, that were reported.
Yeah. And what do you personally feel like these things are? Do you think they're more human or more primate?
That's a hard question. I think that they are. I think they've been here forever. I think that they interacted with probably the Native Americans and taught them things. I think they know to stay hidden. Um, I don't know. I don't know. There's the alien Bigfoot connection that sometimes makes you think because people will say we saw them and then they just disappeared, walked away and just vanished. I don't know. I haven't witnessed that, but I don't disbelieve it. Um, so I don't know. I think there's above the primates as far as intelligence on how they can figure things out and maybe the infrasound that they can use and different things like that that people report. So I'm not sure.
Yeah. It almost seems like they're spliced from humans, primates, and aliens, and they got the best of all of our
Yeah,
genetics.
yeah, perhaps they did. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's very interesting. I watch and listen, but I can't say for certain. I just know that what I saw was definitely something that if you reach out and touch it, it was real. It made vocal noises. It wasn't an apparition of any kind. And having my father there with me, it was more, we saw it, so it was easier to say to people we were together when we saw this. Whereas if I had gone in and said, "Hey, I just saw two monkeys in the trees," that wouldn't have been as believable because you're a 10-year-old kid.
Yeah.
But because he was there too, and he validated it, um, that to me that's pretty concrete that yeah, we saw this, we saw them.
What do you think attracted them to the property?
Um, Probably the density of the woods and the fact that they could travel pretty far um, without being seen or get into any you know human contact. There's creeks along there, and there's deep woods to go into, and if they needed food source, there's plenty of deer and chickens from the farmers, and you know I don't know if they just traveled through seasonal or how they lived as far as that goes, or do they hibernate? We don't know. But the weather was good in that area. They could take shelter and not have to travel too far for food. So
Yeah. And in 1967, there was a lot of woods there. I mean, there
oh
probably
yeah,
still is, huh?
yeah, it's still pretty underdeveloped in that area.
Yeah. So it's a heavily wooded area, and there's
Mhm.
springs there, big ravines, a lot of deer,
Mhm.
a lot of wildlife. So there's
Yes.
plenty of food sources.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, not too many houses either. It's pretty much remained the same since I grew up in that area. They didn't, um, farmers kept the land. It's not been sold off. There's no subdivisions or it's pretty much stayed the same.
Yeah. And when your dad was still around, did he talk about this to other people quite often, or did he keep it to himself?
He kept it to himself. Our family members, immediate family would talk about it, but yeah, he didn't discuss it. Now he was the youngest of 13 kids, and he had a lot of brothers that they went hunting, and they spent lots and lots of time in the woods. And even my husband, when we got married, he joined the hunting cabin too, and it was in lower West Virginia. And none of those men ever reported anything like that down in that area. Um, but you would think being out in the woods like that, as often as they were over the years, they would have encountered something like a Bigfoot, but but they didn't. So I think that he didn't want to share that with his hunting buddies, that he didn't want to, again, have people poke fun at him. So he didn't talk about it much.
Yeah. And did you ever have any other experiences throughout your life? Anything with the paranormal, anything strange?
I have, and again, it's things as you get older, you try to think, well, was it related? But um, I did see a UFO in '78, and I was pregnant at the time. I witnessed it. It was above a telephone pole near the county airport. It was in August. It was 7 o'clock in the evening. It was still light out. And I sat and watched this from my car window. And it's, again, no traffic. It's country road. And when I started to get out to get a better look, the and it was saucer shaped, it moved. And I got back in the car and thought that wasn't a good idea. There were two houses on the property, and this craft was right above the one house, and it was just sitting next to a telephone pole. And I don't know how tall a telephone pole is, but it was sitting right next to it. And when I finally decided to leave the area, I had to turn the lights on the car. So when I turned the lights on, I made a sharp right turn, and it followed me all along the creek bed. And then I had to stop at a relative's house. I did what I needed to do there, just briefly, got back in my car. It shot away from me when it saw that I was going to stop. It took off and flew the other way. And when I got home, I sketched a picture of it. And it was 10:30 when I got home, and I had left my sister's house at 7 o'clock, and it's less than a 20-minute ride. So I lost time.
Yeah, that
It,
is strange. And did you see like a bright light, or could you actually see the craft, like the shape of it?
I could see the craft. It was your typical saucer shape, like two dinner plates turned on top of each other,
Mm,
domed on top and
yeah.
on the bottom. It didn't have any noise. It had no insignias, no windows. Um, but when I had to turn the car lights on, it had like a source.
Really?
But
And what color was this glow?
like um, orangish amber color. It wasn't real bright, but it was definitely um, its light source to see, I guess, because it was dark by then.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
I've
it and
seen
it
the
was
same
like
light.
a have you?
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a pewter color. It wasn't shiny. It was like pewter, like a dull metal.
Okay. Yeah, I know what you mean. And did you ever experience any like health issues after that encounter?
No,
Okay.
no, I did not. Um, and like I said, I was pregnant at the time, and I could go on, but uh, there were my son. When I was pregnant with him, years later, he claims, and I believe him, he was 4 or 5, and he claims that little gray man out of came through the window and out into the closet, waved to him. It happened often enough that he would yell for us, mom and dad, and we would go in. And he said when it would hear us coming, it would leave. It would go out the window, but it said it would come with this bright light on the outside of the house. So I know this all sounds so strange, and it is strange. Um, and I don't know. I don't want to speculate on anything, but again, I know what I saw. People would say, yes, we saw a craft that landed in the field or whatever, but those were just things people said, and you didn't have any reason to go investigate or question them. It was just, my father worked at a coal mine, so they had the big smokestacks and lights and stuff that were there. and it was not, it was just a coal plant. It wasn't a power plant per se, but they would witness crafts flying sometime down that way, and it would scare a couple of the guys enough till they would leave. They wouldn't even come back to work. So just things like that. And I don't know. It's again, right place, right time, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. And I theorize that possibly it's connected with the pregnancy, your son, and
Hmm.
maybe it has something to do with that because they visited him and you had those Bigfoot encounters back in 1967. And we were even
Hmm.
talking about that it's the best genetics from humans, aliens, and primates mixed into one.
Hmm.
But I don't
Hmm.
know. That's just a theory. It's called Sasquatch Theory. So we have no answers, and we're just
There you go. We're just on a quest to find out,
yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, right. And then yeah, just um just things like, that make you wonder what is out there, what is, are you just hitting certain things at certain times and you see them, or are they always around you and you don't see them, or it's a lot of questions.
Yeah, absolutely. And have you ever experienced paranormal activity as far as hearing voices, seeing apparitions, anything like that?
I have. um and that was when I was much older. And I had an experience where actually I was babysitting my grandchild. She was young, under a year old. I went into her room and was getting her changed to take back downstairs, and I was talking to her, and a male voice. It first sounded like, you ever been in a restaurant and a diner and you can hear the clanking of silverware and glasses and stuff, the background noise? It sort of came through like that. But then this voice said, "Don't take the baby downstairs." And she heard it too because she turned her head to the direction of the voice, and it threw me for a second, but okay. It didn't spook me. Changed her, picked her up, and I said, "Okay, we're going to go downstairs." And same voice said, "Okay, take the baby downstairs." So then didn't have, I never went back to the house because my son had moved from there after, not because of that, but he moved. So I didn't get to do any like investigating of that particular thing. But yeah, my sister and I encountered, she lived in a house over 100 years old, and this was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. She was living in the house alone, and she would tell me, she's like, something is rattling the doorknob on the bedroom door. And it scared her enough that she went outside. And then I went to visit her, and it actually happened while we were together. And something with force was trying to open the door that was in the little hallway off of her bedroom. And it was very, like, almost like they walked up to the door, but she had it um, barricaded, like she had a chair across from the door to the floor. So if you tried to open it, it wouldn't let you open it because she was afraid. And it was almost as if this person, I would say it was a residual, that it walked up to the door and pushed it really hard again. But it was a definite encounter of something that you couldn't see but was there.
Yeah, that is frightening. So again, you feel like it was connected to the boy or your son?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
no.
What
I think
exactly
that
did
was
they
just,
say?
now that was in a different house.
Oh,
That
okay.
don't that was a male voice, that like a ghost voice that came through and said, "Don't take the baby downstairs." Like it didn't want me to take it out of the room because it either enjoyed its company or enjoyed watching the baby or something. Wasn't scary, it wasn't threatening. It was just like, maybe if it was a ghost, it could only stay on that floor or something of the house. I don't know. I don't know. It all sounds so weird, but it's stuff that happened.
Yeah, I believe you, no doubt.
Yeah.
And you haven't had any more Bigfoot experiences since that first encounter when
No,
you were 10? Okay.
no. But like I said, my sister moved to property right above my parents' house, and her kids, like one son waited at the bus stop. He said he got unnerved and was going to go back to the house because he heard a whooping sound, and it wasn't the typical, like what you hear, the Bigfoot sound, like the whoop. He said it was a different, but he got the feeling that he was being watched, and it whooped several times. He's also the one, as a younger kid, found the pile of deer bones stacked up. You know, I mean, what would do that? There's no hunters. It wasn't poaching season, or not that is poaching season is ever a thing, but it wasn't a hunting thing. He was out in the woods playing and came across that was, makes you think now that perhaps it was Bigfoot activity.
Yeah, and was it like one deer, like the bones are piled up, or was it multiple deer?
It was multiple.
Okay, I see what you mean. So kind of like a boneyard, or
like a feeding area. So yeah.
Okay. Let's see, what else? Do you think where you live at now, you're going to experience more activity? Has anything strange happened where you moved to?
No, definitely not in the Bigfoot realm at all. No, haven't heard or seen anything like that.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that pretty well answers most of my questions. Do you have anything else that you'd like to add to the podcast?
No, I just really enjoy your show. I like listening to you. I like all the interviews you do. So I hope you can continue doing that, and that through the community and the networking of all the people that are believers, that we can. I don't ever want to see any harm come to them. I hope that nobody goes out. I don't like the people that say we're going to go out and shoot one to bring it in and prove it's real or not. I don't like any of that, but I would love to be able to say, yes, let's add that to the roster of real animals and real whatever we classify it as,
Yeah, I feel the same way. Maybe if there's like one that's been known to like hurt people and it's in the area and it keeps hurting people, maybe send out a kill team. You know what I mean? But as far as seeing like two little ones swinging from the trees, leave them alone, let them live, and let them do their thing.
I agree. So yeah, keep squatching, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Keep squatching, and I appreciate you for watching the channel and for contacting me and sharing your encounter and the experiences that you've had throughout your life. That really means a lot, and it helps me out along the journey, and it certainly helps out the channel.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Connie.
All right.
Well, I'll let you go, and you have an excellent day.
You too. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, Connie, thank you very much for sharing your Bigfoot encounters and experiences with me here on the channel. And your description of the orangutan-like creatures swinging from tree to tree was very interesting, and it did sound like two juveniles just playing and enjoying the day. It's my theory that these two juveniles didn't see you guys as a threat, and possibly they were just enjoying their day playing in the trees, or maybe they had no idea you guys were there, but it seemed like they did, because these creatures are very observant and they choose whenever they decide to come out and let people see them. Of course, they get caught off guard every now and then, but in this case, they were way up there in the canopy of the trees, and I think they had vantage point and they knew you guys were there. But yeah, if you guys can, please like and subscribe, hit the bell notification to stay up to date with all my future videos. And if you have a Bigfoot encounter that you would like to share with me here on the channel, please contact me sometime at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. And everyone's donations are very much appreciated. The thanks, anything that you guys have to contribute to the channel is very much appreciated. So thank you everyone for your support. And that's pretty much all we have for today. Thank you guys so much for listening. Take care and be safe out there.